a tropical paradise, Sri Lanka. Lying southeast of the Indian subcontinent, this island is often referred to as the Pearl of the Indian Ocean. The island is home to a wide range of ethnic groups, many who retain traditional lifestyles in close partnership with nature. Transportation is largely by tuk-tuk, and for over 40 years the people here have adopted this modest machine as their main mode of travel. Today, however, the tuk-tuk has a new challenge. "23 teams from all corners of the globe will navigate across 1,200 kilometres of Sri Lanka's most demanding landscapes on a 7-stage challenge."
The Daily Telegraph decided to get involved. I was researching an article about Sri Lanka, came across this Lanka Challenge website, and we were looking at a way of covering the country, in a new light after the war had finished, and it seemed just like a brilliant way of getting behind the scenes, not doing just the usual tourist stuff, but meeting people, doing ridiculous challenges, and in a tuk-tuk, it couldn't really be better.
The race machine, the auto rickshaw, is capable of an eye-watering 45 miles an hour. With 50 contestants and over 15 support crews travelling, the event's sheer scale, size and impact is something Sri Lanka has not seen for many years.
We started with the idea of the Lanka Challenge long before the conflict ended. They were very nervous about bringing a big group of foreigners who would then be travelling around the country when it was still not safe. Luckily, we have a local partner that assisted us in getting all the permits that we needed. When you're talking about 24 rickshaws going around 1,000 and something kilometers, you'll obviously have loads of operational requirements that you need to take care of. And then again, having a local partner always makes that much easier.
It's the biggest event after the war. It's like enjoying Sri Lanka in a different way. You can enjoy the sceneries, you can meet different people from different areas. So I think it will boost Sri Lankan tourism a lot.
Abby came around to my desk one morning and she said, "I really need a holiday and I don't need any kind of holiday." And that afternoon I received the electronic EDM that came out. So I flicked it onto Abby and I said, "Have a look at this then if you really need a holiday." And she came back to me 10 minutes later, literally jumping off the walls, going, "We're going, we're going, we're going, we're going."
On arrival, the contestants are given a few hours to get to grips with their tuk-tuks. Each contestant must pay a registration fee, a percentage of which will be donated to Sri Lankan charities and initiatives. The teams will get the chance to participate in some of these initiatives along the 7 stages of the race.
But this was really once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to come and experience Sri Lanka in this way. We ended up just deciding, once we heard about it, that let's do it. There's no buts, we're just going to go ahead.
It's a chance to find out a bit more about the Sri Lankan culture. It's a great chance to meet the guys, just random people from all over the world, and it's for charity, so why wouldn't you?
As with most tropical islands, the weather here is never easy to predict, and the conditions mean the start of the race has to be delayed. It rains here for up to 188 days a year, with certain regions receiving as much as 4,000 millimetres of rain. The rain, although dramatic, doesn't last long. The race through Sri Lanka begins in the warm subtropical south and heads inland northeast from the coast towards Sigiriya. Of the 7 stages of the race, this is the most northerly part of the island the teams will visit. Participants are still learning how to drive in Sri Lanka, including many of its on-road customs. Mainly lots of short bursts of honking before and after overtaking. After a short spell on some B roads, the participants arrive at today's finish next to Sigiriya, or Lion's Rock. As part of the charity programme for this leg, the teams get the chance to meet a traditional Sri Lankan family. Jayatilaka and his family serve up some tea and local delicacies. A contribution made by the challenge will help the family get a new roof for their home.
The Lanka Challenge is having a program to help the local families as well. So basically then it was decided that we should give them a lend in hand. So the most important thing at that time that they had was to have a proper roof. So there is more protection, especially from the rain. Where the agriculture is concerned, the most threatening problem is the wild elephant. Even about a month ago, he has been chased by a lone elephant not very far from the house. So government is trying to find an amicable solution, which is not easy. This conflict between the man and the elephant has been going on for centuries.
Today's start is later than usual, offering participants the chance to get up close and personal with Sri Lanka's most recognisable landmark. With these spectacular views, it's well worth the 20-minute hike to the top. Sigiriya is an ancient rock fortress and palace built by the parricidal King Kassapa I in 477 AD and is one of the 7 World Heritage Sites of Sri Lanka. The rock and its grounds contain evidence of its time as a Buddhist mountain monastery dating back to the 5th century BC. After the teams take in the sights, it's time to head towards Dambana. The teams leave Sigiriya and soon find themselves racing through a diversity of environments in a remarkably short space of time. Teams are starting to get a feel for Sri Lankan life and its people. Locals can be seen going about their everyday lives. The drive ends in the Veda country, known as Dambana. On arriving, the teams meet the Veda people, who preserve a direct line of descent from the island's original Neolithic community, dating back to 16,000 BC. Funds collected from the Lanka Challenge are able to provide the Veda community with over 100 sacks of rice. Following traditional tribal etiquette, a single sack of rice must be presented to the king of the region before it can be distributed among his people. Today, there are about 350 families who still maintain their original customs and traditions. As the teams bed down for the night, it begins to dawn on them that this is no Thompson holiday.
I arrived about 3 hours after everyone. We'd broken down 6 times and I was so tired. I was beginning to hate the machine, and then suddenly saw this guy come out with a lantern, an axe, a thong. He goes, "Follow me." I was like, where the hell am I going? This is amazing. But it's just an example. It's the kind of thing you just wouldn't be able to do as a tourist.
On the morning of stage 3, the teams make their way through the tough, dry terrain of the Veda country towards Kandy. The teams leave the dry zone of the northeast region and head southwest to the central hills located in the wet zone. As they start the climb to the hill country, farmers can be seen working the fields, as they always have, with the help of domesticated water buffalo. Parts of the climb are steep and a few of the team's tuk-tuks break down. But they're soon up and running again, making their way towards Kandy. The city of Kandy was the last capital of the ancient kings of Ceylon, and is set in the hills overlooking a lake in lush subtropical surroundings. Kandy is also home to the Buddha's tooth, a sacred tooth relic of the Lord Buddha, which is enshrined within the Temple of the Tooth. The tooth has an extraordinary story attached to it. In 313 AD, the Indian princess Hemamali hid the tooth in her hair as she fled to Sri Lanka, escaping the Hindu armies besieging her father's kingdom. It has remained here ever since.
Buddhism arose in India in the 6th century BC. After 300 years, it came to Sri Lanka. For about 2,000 years, Sri Lanka was a very prosperous country. It seems a young woman, a beautiful woman, can walk from the south of Sri Lanka to the north alone, carrying a gem in her hand. Nobody will touch her. The men were so disciplined. They were like divine people. They worked very hard. They brought up a very big civilization, which we are really proud about. But all of it was lost because of South Indian invasions, and then later the Dutch, the Portuguese and the British, and today of course the world community is in peril.
Today the teams participate in a tree planting conservation project at the Wategama school in Kandy. Together with the children, they plant trees to help offset the carbon emissions created by the 23 tuk-tuks over the duration of the challenge. The contestants are beginning to understand firsthand why the Sri Lankan people are renowned for their genuine hospitality and winning smiles.
If you have a breakdown, you have a bad breakdown and you're down for like an hour or two, then you almost end up having a better day because you give up on the race of the day. So you take things easy, you stop and chat to locals. We were just saying the idea of arriving at someone's house in Europe, kind of waving at them and then stopping and saying hi, and them inviting you inside for tea, just wouldn't happen in Europe or where any of us live. People are very engaging. I think it's an amazing place.
Close by is Sri Lanka's elephant orphanage. With 50 elephants, it's the largest elephant enclosure in the world.
Elephant orphanage is started in 1975 with 5 orphan babies. Sri Lankan elephants are orphan due to the various reasons. Major reason is habitat destruction, that is their living place destruction due to the agricultural projects, human settlements, irrigation projects, road constructions like that. Also human-elephant conflicts. That's why it started the elephant orphanage to protect that orphan elephants.
Today starts at the Peradeniya University, one of the largest universities of the 11 on the island. The journey from Kandy to Nusa Elia contains probably the most demanding and visually stunning landscapes of all 7 stages of the race. The route climbs through the steep mountain passes along the highland ridges just south of Kandy. The main ascent of 1,400 metres takes place over a distance of 80 kilometres and goes through vistas, deep valleys and the dramatic green slopes of the tea plantations in the central Highlands Ridge. The roads are steep and narrow, with the added danger of numerous blind corners, testing the team's driving skills. Finally, the route directs them back onto the main road and the final climb to Nusa Elia. Nusa Elia, also known as Little England, is situated 1,890 metres above sea level in the heart of the tea country. The British succeeded in creating a typical English village, right down to its recognisable architecture. As the final teams arrive at the finish of day 4, it seems some have fared better than others.
We tipped on a stone, went over on our side, flipped again onto a lamppost and was thrown over on our top. We got stuck between two mud wall panels on the side because it was a drop. Well, that was it. They pulled us out. We banged it back together and we finished the race.
We had a minor mishap going up one corner, and
minor mishap, yep.
leaning in, we slowly felt Astana slide.
Basically fell over and slid on the road right into oncoming traffic, and as a result I've sort of got burns from the plastic and a few cuts from the cement. They had a few brief seconds to very quickly push the car back on its side, push it off the road and get a few high fives from the locals.
Following the previous day's incidents, everyone is briefed on the perils of today's journey south to Vira Villa. Some of the roads are not in the best condition. The hills around Ella plunge nearly 800 metres to the floor of the Vira Villa flatlands, all in a brisk 80 kilometres. As the teams head southwest of Nueva Elia, they pass temples, towns and one of two botanic gardens on the island. As the road descends, the teams find themselves surrounded by the high mountains in the central hills, as well as the area's abundance of waterfalls. Per area, Sri Lanka has the highest concentration of waterfalls in the world. The temperature rises dramatically as the teams finally reach the flatlands of Vira Villa, in the dry zone. Tomorrow is the penultimate stage of the challenge, and a feeling of competitiveness has started to build as the teams reflect on their performances.
We expected it to be hardcore, but I mean, I didn't expect so many accidents. There's been, a few. Mine was the first, so yes, I'm proud of that.
People are taking it seriously. People have satellite images, GPS, but we've done it the old way. We've done it by the stars. Not that we ride in darkness, but we've got good eyesight. It's mad, it's crazy, but if you're firm and you drive safe, you can survive, and we are testimony.
Coming up to Kandy was pretty cool. Lots of hairpin bends. You've got to take it really slowly. You've got to work the gears, mainly in second and third. If you're in fourth, you're going backwards pretty much. But yeah, that was the most challenging driving.
It's amazing actually today and the last couple of days, overtaking a couple on blind corners and all the rest of it is normal, but the first couple of days it was pretty scary. But then you kind of get used to it, and actually, people beat when they overtake, and it's kind of normal.
As morning approaches, the teams pack their things and make their way through the Yala National Park. Today's journey heads south towards the coast and is the longest section of the race at 125 kilometres. The roads today are a sharp contrast to the previous 3 days, being smooth and flat, requiring less concentration. That is, unless some local wildlife decides to get in on the action. After 4 days inland, everyone is looking forward to seeing the sea again. And as the teams pass Tangale, they see the ocean and its waves crashing onto the shore. At Dondra, the road reaches the most southern point of the island and continues in a westerly direction along the coast to Matra, where we can see leftover buildings and forts from the Dutch occupation. The teams make their way through the local towns until they reach the finish of leg 5 at their hotel in Mirissa. The coastal area had been a grave reminder of the tsunami back in 2004, with the destruction it left behind still very evident.
We were heading towards the coast from New Elia today, and a lot of the coastal roads have been wiped out from the tsunami, so there was a bit of a diversion which confused everyone because it's not on the map. But it's quite saddening to see. You can see the graves still on the edge of the road, and we're here trying to give something back to the community through our various sponsorships and whatnot and charities. So it's nice to give something back.
after the tsunami, one of the major problems was this safe drinking water. So as a measure, the Sri Lankan Red Cross brought about this proposal to set up this clay water filter factory. As you all are aware that the conflict is almost over, and the people who were in those areas, this conflict affected areas, now they have been settled in these camps. So as a measure, we thought that it would be useful to provide our ceramic water filters to those families in those camps. In time to come, when they are resettled, they could take this filter along with them to wherever they will be settled in.
One factory alone can produce 1,000 pots per month. $2,000 from the team's registration fees are to be allocated to help this initiative, the Lanka Challenge's single biggest donation. On the final day of the challenge, the teams start making their way towards Colombo, north along the coast. The road to Colombo passes through Gore with its imposing Dutch fort built in 1640. The race is still wide open. Everyone seems to be going for broke. This final leg of the challenge is short, and all the teams make it to the finish line at Terranta School, south of Colombo, in a record 1 hour and 30 minutes. 7 days of blood, sweat and tears, finally over. All 23 teams make their way to the Ministry of Tourism in Colombo as a final lap of honour before a photo shoot with the Minister in front of the world's press.
And for Sri Lanka.
In these 7 days, you cover everything you want, like fields of barley, just cruising through it, coffee plantations, tea plantations. It's amazing.
I think everybody should come to Sri Lanka. It's beautiful, it's lovely people, it's good food. We give 2 thumbs up for this country, 100%.
Our main ambition next year, we will definitely touch the eastern coast and hoping even go to the north. And by doing so, I feel that we will definitely try to help the people of this country, irrespective of their religion or the ethnic group or whatever the belief that they have.
As speeches are made and awards handed out, it's clear that the success of this event is down to the Sri Lankan people, who've organised an event with its own people and country at its heart.